All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to part two of Dr. G talking about burnout. And I'm not going to get deep into a into an intro. Um, I'm going to give her as much time as I can. If you want to hear the great intro that Dr. Maurer did, watch part one, um, which was I recommend you do anyway if you have not done it. It's great stuff. Um, Dr. G has got some fantastic information on stress and burnout, and I'm gonna stump a little bit for her here because she is one of my favorite people and one of the smartest people I know. She is the author of The Stress Solution, and so there you go. She also is the pod has a podcast, Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Grajdek, and Stress Free with Dr. G on YouTube. And I am going to drop some links in the chat here in a minute so that you can make use of these wonderful resources that are out there for you. And with that, I'm going to stop talking so that the really smart lady can talk to you. And I'm going to pass that over to my friend, Dr. Martha Grajdek.
Thank you, Lee. That was such a humbling introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming to spend the hour with me. I'm honored to be here, and I'm really quite happy to have an opportunity to finish what we started with the first part of this 30-minute buffer burnout, or burnout buffer, excuse me. Let me share my screen if I may. That way we can go through the slides together. And can everyone see them? Good. All right. Thank you. So if you allow me just a few moments to do a quick recap or summary of what we talked about last time, the focus here of this presentation is to create a buffer to manage stress in such a way that we don't end up in a state of burnout. And the idea when I created this presentation, the intended audience were adults, working adults who also attend graduate school. Because as you can imagine, if you've been there especially, you know how time consuming, how difficult that can be, how stressful that can be. But in reality, these practices are available and effective for anyone who encounters stress in their life, especially too much stress in their life. So, having said that, let's begin. The idea is that rather than adding one more thing onto your list of things to do as a way of mitigating stress and preventing burnout, we can take multiple steps throughout the day, tiny practices, little habits that take maybe 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at a time. Stagger them throughout the day, but reap the benefits of what you accumulate by incorporating these practices into your day on a daily basis. With that, let's recap what the difference between stress and burnout is. Stress is a response to something external of you, an event, a situation, something that happens. It tends to be short-lived. It tends to be something that you can fix by taking a break or changing the situation or doing something relatively simple in order to change your circumstances. It tends not to last very long. You may feel irritated, you may feel upset, but that tends to go away. When we talk about burnout, on the other hand, this is a much more serious state. When stress happens on a prolonged basis, whether it's the same stressor happening for a long time, or it's different smaller stressors that simply keep happening in your life. Whatever the circumstances are, if stress goes on unmitigated for a long time, we can enter into that state of burnout. And this is where you experience that feeling of exhaustion. This is physical exhaustion, emotional, psychological exhaustion. A person may feel hopeless. They may feel helpless. And finding your way out of burnout can take a lot longer than dealing with stress, and it can take a lot more effort than it would to simply deal with stress. This is why it's so important that we address stress and its effects on a regular basis, on a daily basis, so that we don't cross over into that state of burnout. Now, as I already said, when you already have a busy schedule, adding one more thing to your to-do list, 30 minutes or half an hour, or an hour rather, may seem even more stressful, may seem counterproductive because that ends up to just add to your to-do list. That ends up being one more thing that you have to tend to, that you have to check off, that you have to do. But if we take that approach of incorporating little things, small habits, small practices that take just a few minutes, a minute, 2, 5 minutes at a time, and do those throughout the day on a daily basis, we still reap the benefits as if we had taken an entire 30 minutes or more to work on reducing stress, to work on dealing with the effects that come with stress. So that's a catch-up of our first session together. Let me scroll down to the slide of where we left off, and we can pick up there. When there is too much on your plate, everybody wants something. You have responsibilities, you have tasks, maybe you have schoolwork if you're in school, you have a family responsibility, you may have social responsibilities as well. It can seem difficult to get everything done. It can even seem difficult to focus. You may find yourself distractible, easily distracted by everything around you. And the idea of how you can help yourself is to essentially create the kind of environment that will help you to succeed. Set yourself up for success. If that means putting your phone or other electronics on a do not disturb setting for a little while, half hour, maybe an hour, even if that's all you do, that's already a big help to you because you can then take that time to focus on the things that you need to do. If you are like me and you open your computer browser and there are about 1,000 different tabs open, if there's anyone guilty of that, I may or may not be, I admit to nothing. That is a big distraction. I find myself sometimes looking at just this long line of tabs and thinking, I wonder what that one was. And there is my first rabbit hole. And there I go. What you can do if you're like that, close the tabs or close the browser. Close anything that will likely distract you. Turn off the TV, turn off Prime or whatever you have going. Let your housemates or your office mates know that you need 30 minutes to really focus on some tasks, whether it's one task or multiple tasks. But the bottom line is take the responsibility to create that kind of environment that will help you to be successful rather than distracted. The other thing that you can do that I suggest is what I call the 30/2 rule. Focus on a task or a group of tasks for 30 minutes. Nothing else. Just do a deep dive into a task or group of tasks that you need to accomplish. After 30 minutes, stop for 2-3 minutes to take a break. It may not sound like a lot, But a couple of things are happening when you do that. First, you are making an agreement with yourself that for the next 30 minutes, this is what I'm doing. I'm not getting distracted. This is my focus. This is my purpose right now. And you commit to that. When you finish with it, you have a sense of accomplishment, one, but two, you give yourself 2 or 3 minutes for a break. That means you stand up, you walk away, you stretch, you go get a drink of water, maybe you take a restroom break. Do something to have a real break. 2, 3 minutes may not sound like a lot, but it really makes a difference if you compare it to working straight through without a break. That is incredibly taxing on your body and on your mind. So those breaks are absolutely critical. And if you are committed to doing these small things in these short increments of time, they really do add up and you really do feel the difference. Give yourself a week or two implementing these little changes, these mini habits that I suggest, and you will really start to feel a difference in the stress in your life, how you're processing it, and how you're able to move beyond it and not let it affect you so much. Breathing exercises are another great thing to take a break. Breathing can really calm your body and calm your mind. This doesn't have to be anything elaborate. This can be very, very simple, very quick. 30 seconds to a minute, some slow, deep breaths. That can really help you to calm down. So I suggest that as an option for when you're trying to stay focused or maybe refocus, bringing yourself back to a centered state can be as easy as doing a simple breathing exercise. When you have a lot on your plate, you may find yourself worrying or ruminating about things. And that can be a big drain on your energy, a big drain on your ability to focus, and on your ability to get things accomplished. There are some things that you can do to really tackle worry and rumination one thought at a time. And whether you are a person who's by nature just someone who worries, or you find yourself worrying more simply because of all of the responsibilities that you're facing, whatever the cause, whatever the root of that is, the end result is the same. It's taxing on you. It's making it more difficult for you to accomplish everything that you need to accomplish. One way of dealing with worry and rumination is to take back your power, because it can feel like the thoughts of worry or rumination are taking over your mind, and you may find yourself stuck worrying or ruminating. It's a vicious cycle. So your job here is to take your power back. First, give yourself the permission to put the worry, to put the rumination on a back burner. And you do this by saying, you know what? I'm going to schedule a time to worry for a little bit. 5, 10 minutes tops. Don't give it any more than that. You can even put that on your actual calendar. Later in the day, I will worry for 5 or 10 minutes. Designate that time. You have given yourself permission to put it on a back burner, and you have just regained your power. You're in charge now, not the worry, not the rumination. When the time for your later appointment comes, chances are you won't even want to waste your time on it. But if you do, your desire to worry will be much smaller than it was in the moment. This is how you slowly free yourself. And remember that practice makes better. This is not an attempt of reaching some kind of perfection. This is simply about practicing until you get better. Another thing you can do is have a reality check with yourself. Consider what it is that you're worrying about. The first question to ask yourself is this problem, this issue, whatever it is that's making me worry, is it imminent? Is something bad really going to happen? Chances are it's not. Every now and then, of course, in life, there is a situation where, yes, you need to do something immediately or almost immediately. But most of the time, when it comes to rumination, when it comes to these never-ending thoughts where you're worried, chances are it's not any immediate emergency or urgency. This is, again, by identifying things for what they are, you are empowering yourself. The other thing to ask yourself is this worry even real or is it imagined? Am I just making big monsters out of nothing? Is there anything to back up what I'm worried about or what I'm ruminating about? Because there may not be anything to it. So again, have these inner conversations with yourself as a way of regaining your power and regaining your control. Another thing you can do is name the 3 possible outcomes for what you're worried about. The worst scenario, the best scenario, and the most likely scenario. This really helps to put things in perspective. What's the best thing? What's the best scenario? How could this turn out in the best way? What is the most likely way that this will turn out? And what's the worst that could happen? When we actually take the time to analyze these thoughts, these worries, chances are they're not as bad as we thought. When you actually start digging in a little deeper, asking for evidence, asking for proof, things fall apart and these worries no longer have that hold, that power over you. This is how you're getting your power back. So you are effectively empowering yourself with every little habit or practice that you choose to engage in throughout the day. And again, remember, this is about getting better. This is about improvement, not perfection. But the goal is, if you remember, to reduce stress and its effects on you every day throughout the day in these small little habits and practices so that you don't get into that state of burnout. Another thing that I like to remind people is to relax. Relax on purpose. When you have a busy schedule, sometimes you forget to pencil that in, or I would say put it in ink. If you need to put it on a schedule, do so. Maybe it's half hour, maybe it's 60 minutes. Hopefully it's every day, but if not, at least several times throughout the week. You're not a machine. You should not be working and accomplishing something every moment of every waking hour. You need to relax. Your body, your mind need to relax. So make sure that you deliberately, intentionally put that on your schedule and actually stick to it like it's another appointment. And I like to also remind people to smile. When you're busy and maybe you're stressed out, you walk around with a serious face. We're all so serious. And we live in a world where being serious and stressed out is some kind of an achievement. It's a sad reality. Choose to smile instead. Smiling is good for us. It releases feel-good chemicals in our bodies. It helps your body to relax, and the mind follows very easily. So remember to smile throughout the day, whether you smile at a friend, a coworker, a stranger, or just smile at yourself in the mirror. It's okay. Although this is true, however busy or not busy you may be, but this is especially true when you have a full schedule. Working smarter is so much better than working harder. We live in a society that unfortunately still promotes or values to some degree the idea that more effort means better results. And maybe there are times when that's true, but that should not be taken as this big truth that should be always the case and this is the only way we work or we exist. Getting results is more about strategy than killing yourself by working so hard that you can't even see straight. Getting results is about boundaries. You're not going to be good to anybody if you collapse because you can't do anything anymore. So aim to work smarter with strategy and boundaries in place rather than simply keep working harder and harder. And this is so important for high achievers. Overcommitment tends to be the problem. Can't say no, whether someone asks you or an opportunity casually passes you by. Maybe you don't know how to say no. Maybe you feel guilty about saying no. Maybe you're afraid you're missing out on something. But, this just leads to a lack of time off, downtime for you. And when work fills every waking hour, you don't have any time to rest. You don't have any time to regroup and replenish yourself. So saying no is a necessity. And there is a way to say no to things and people that is without drama, that doesn't burn bridges, that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. You can be nice and professional and still do it effectively. And it really is a very simple formula. It's about combining affirming the request with shifting it and then closing it. So it'll go something like this as an example. Somebody asks you to participate in something or do something, a task, or take on another responsibility. You can very politely say, "Thank you for thinking of me. That sounds like a great opportunity. However," that was the affirm part. Now we're shifting. "However, right now my plate is full." And you can give them some kind of insight. You don't have to get overly detailed, or you can leave it at that. And then close it so that the person knows you're saying no. There's no ambiguity there. Close it by saying, "If timing shifts, I will be happy to revisit this later, or maybe I can suggest someone else who might be able to help with this project." You keep it simple, you keep it professional, you're civilized and friendly, don't over-explain, and you're done. It's really that simple. And again, it's a matter of practice. This may be a little more difficult for you if you have a habit of saying yes because you've never been good at saying no or never felt comfortable saying no. But again, practice makes better. Look at that example. That was relatively simple. It was professional, it was appropriate, and it is pretty effective. If people don't respect what you say when you present your response in that way, either they're not listening or they choose not to hear you. So this is a good way of starting to learn how to say no so that you don't take on more than you need on your plate. There is a limit not only to how much you can do, but there's also a limit how much you should need to do. And you have to recognize that for your own well-being, for your own benefit. And saying no can be used for any reason, even if it's simply because you don't feel like saying yes to that particular request. Time is one of those resources that we cannot get back. Once time has passed, it has passed. And time management is a big business. You may already have apps and calendars, and you've probably read books or seen presentations on better time management. The reality of time is that you have to proactively reclaim it whenever and however you can. And as is the case with everything else in this particular presentation, we do this little bit at a time. If, for example, you have a meeting, saying something like, I have to stop at this hour. Say, for example, the meeting is at 4, goes for an hour. If you announce before the meeting that, look, I have to be done at 4:58 because I have another event or another meeting or another something, that's not an unreasonable request. It allows you those couple of minutes to switch from one to the other with some kind of break, even if it's 2 minutes. Again, 2 minutes may not sound like a lot, but it makes a world of difference if it's a difference between you switching from one to the next immediately or having those 2 minutes to stand up, have a drink of water, stretch. So it's up to you to try and reclaim those little bits of time whenever you can. And again, it's not unreasonable for 2 minutes when you have something else following a meeting or a call or whatever the event may be. The other thing is setting a time limit on meetings. You probably realize how many meetings go on much longer than they need to, simply because people visit with one another, they chit chat, there's a social part to the meeting, people can't stay focused, they go off on side tangents, when in reality, if everybody stayed focused, what was intended to be accomplished could be accomplished in a considerably shorter period of time. So if you are in a position where you get to dictate the length of a meeting, by all means do so. Make the meeting 20 minutes or 25 minutes instead of 30, 40, or an hour. That will truly force everybody to stay focused so that you can get through whatever you need to get through. This is how you do it. You have to be proactive. If you have that power, you have to be proactive in it. If you don't have the power, the authority to dictate how long a meeting will last, then you could make a request at the beginning. Do you mind, or is it okay, or just let people know I have to leave at this and this time because I have another commitment or because of whatever. And if your request is reasonable, most of the time people will be agreeable to it. Even if it's a 5-minute shorter period of time, that will allow you to have that 5 minutes in between events, that 5 minutes to incorporate those small habits, those small practices that will again have a cumulative effect throughout the day, helping you to manage stress in your life. When you are always on the go, you have to find ways to recharge. You may be going from work to school, from one side of town to the other. You may be traveling for work or for school or for other reasons. And being always on the go is, of course, draining to you physically and mentally as well. Make sure you take the time to recharge. Again, short practices, little things. They may take 2, 3, 5 minutes. Whether you do a stretch, do some shoulder rolls, maybe you walk around or pace around a room for 60 seconds. Get the blood going. Get your body a little more alert. These are very simple things. You can do them in most settings. You can do them in public. You can do them in front of other people. There's nothing strange about them. Use these little tricks to wake your body up. And this will wake your mind up as well. Hydration. Nothing will sap your energy and your ability to focus faster than allowing yourself to get dehydrated. Make sure you get some water. Keep water with you, even if it's a few sips before a meeting or before a class. Make sure you stay hydrated. And sunlight is the other thing that can really help to recharge you. If you can go outside for a couple of minutes, that's ideal. If not, see if you can find a window and then enjoy being exposed to some natural light as a way of revitalizing you and waking you up a little bit. There are other ways that you can help to boost your energy, maybe between meetings, between classes, whatever the case may be. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator as you're going from one place to another. Again, that gets the blood flowing, that boosts the circulation, that keeps the energy going. Maybe you do some little exercises at your desk, maybe some neck rolls or calf rises or shoulder shrugs, whatever the case may be. Just something to get your blood going. You can use cold water to wake yourself up a little bit. Next time you're in the restroom, in between classes or meetings, maybe splash some cold water on your face or run some cold water over your wrists. That's a good way of waking you up, getting your body's attention, and getting back into focus. Again, simple things, but these are things that you can do on the go. They don't have to be elaborate. They don't have to take up a lot of your time. You don't have to allot half hour or more at a time. Little things, they really add up. Sometimes you wish you could take a nap, but you can't. Well, there are other things that you can do. You can do something like closing your eyes for 1 or 2 minutes. Some of you may want to set a timer on your watch or your phone so that you don't doze off and miss a meeting. Just, you know yourself, do what you need to do. But close your eyes. Allow your eyes to rest. Relax your face. Let your thoughts just drift. That's a wonderful quick break that is so beneficial when you compare to just being on the go without a stop. What about trying to get some of all of those things that are on your mind, that are in your brain out of there? Cognitive offloading is what it's called. Try writing down things as a means of getting it out of your brain and onto paper. Whether that's your to-do list, whether that's things that are on your mind, whether that's anything else that you want to write down. If you take a few minutes to do that, couple of minutes even, you'll feel the difference afterwards, because even though it's not like you're forgetting those things, you are symbolically transferring them from your brain onto a piece of paper and letting them go. That frees you up a little bit. That lets your mind have a little more opportunity to rest and not worry about those things in the moment. You can do some progressive release exercises by clenching and releasing your muscles. You can start from your feet up or work from your head down and work in groups of muscles. Tense your muscles for a few moments and then release them. Go to the next group of muscles. So maybe you start with your face, then your neck, your shoulders, your arms. Or if you start from the bottom, start with your feet and work your way up. This really allows you to remind your body what it feels like when it's relaxed. A lot of times we go through the day, we're busy, we're tense. We don't even realize that our muscles are tense until maybe something hurts or feels uncomfortable at the end of the day or at the end of the week. This is a wonderful way of releasing the tension from your body, one muscle group at a time, and recognizing the difference, reminding yourself of the difference. What does it feel like when your body is tense as opposed to when it is relaxed? What happens when you feel overwhelmed? Because, it's inevitable. At some point, a lot of people do feel overwhelmed. It's not pleasant, it can be alarming, but there are things that you can do to help yourself if you're in that state, if you are feeling overwhelmed. The simplest thing to do is to pause. Simply pause. Stop doing everything. Just remain seated or remain standing and do nothing for 30 seconds or maybe a minute, and write out whatever feeling you're feeling. Let it pass. Just take a pause. In a day where you're constantly busy, taking the time to pause can be a tremendous help. Again, these are small little things that we're doing, but they do add up and they are important. And doing them throughout the day is what gives us that cumulative effect that we're looking for, the benefits that we're looking for. You can engage in some box breathing or any other breathing exercise that you enjoy. Box breathing is 4 breaths or a count of 4 at a time, excuse me. Breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 4, and then repeat. You can do this once, twice, you can do it for a minute or two, up to you, but it can really help to clear your head and relax both your body and your mind. You can do something as simple as a 1-minute triage. Try to figure out what is it specifically that has you feeling overwhelmed? What exactly is it? Because identifying the culprit can help you to do something about it, can help you to figure out a better way of dealing with it. So knowing it's your responsibility to know what it is that's making you feel overwhelmed so that you can avoid it or change it in the future. If you have a designated person who could be your SOS buddy, that would be ideal. This is not a person that's going to be tasked or expected to solve your problem or offer some great words of wisdom or do anything other than just be a person to connect to. Someone you could text when you're feeling overwhelmed. Somebody who is aware of how busy you are and is willing to have your back. Someone who will check in on you to make sure that you're okay. Having that connection with another human being, especially if it's a designated person, can make all the difference in the world. And this is especially important when you're feeling overwhelmed. So you can send a text to your SOS buddy and say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can you check on me in 30 minutes or at such and such time? And that can be a big relief. Just knowing that someone is there for you can be a big help. You may need to do an environmental reset. And that's just a fancy way of saying changing where you are at that time. Whether that means leaving the room, going outside, going to another room, going to the hallway, going to the bathroom, or even going to a different area of the same room. Allowing yourself to change your environment can be very helpful to that feeling of overwhelmed, which can feel like you're being boxed in or squeezed in. But when you change location, when you change your environment, that can free you from that feeling. So something as simple as changing where you are can make a big difference. It is your responsibility to know when you need a time out. Waiting for others to recognize it and then doing something about it is not the best way to go. You know how you feel, you know yourself, you know your limits. Know when it's time to take a time out. A timeout could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, but you have the responsibility to yourself and to others, in some sense, to know when you need it and to take that time out. If you can't keep going, but you don't tell anyone that you need to break away for a few minutes, you're not doing anything for them. You're not serving them, and you're only harming yourself by continuing to push yourself. So know when you need a timeout. Identify it. Consider in your mind, am I in that red zone or nearing that red zone where I really need to step away for a few minutes? And then politely say, whether that's to your boss, your teacher, your peers, whatever the case may be, I need a few minutes to regroup. And that's it. I'll be back shortly. When you get to that point, take the time out. If your body and your mind is telling you that that's what you need, don't ignore it. Take that time out. Leave the space if at all possible. Go outside, go into a different room, go into the hallway or the bathroom, whatever the case may be. And then, if time and circumstances allow, do more of a deep reset routine. Do your box breathing. Follow that by a few minutes of either walking or maybe stretching. And add as a third one small thing, maybe taking a drink of water. This whole thing won't last more than 5 minutes, but it's a deep reset because you're combining different mini practices or mini habits together to help you when you are either nearing or in that red zone where you really need a time out. Remember to keep that burnout buffer going. Although you may be motivated to get started with these practices and these routines when things are especially busy, if you keep these practices on a daily basis, you will continue to reap the benefits and be able to better manage the stress in your life, whether it's just a little bit of stress going on or a lot of stress, so that you don't get into that burnout zone. Celebrate your wins, whatever those may be, whether it's how well you're managing your stress or achievements at work and school and your personal life. Pay attention to what works. Those habits that really click for you, that you enjoy, do those. The ones you don't like, don't do them. Don't make it more difficult on yourself. And share with others what you're doing and what's working. Pair up with a friend who may also be interested in learning these mini practices, mini habits as a way of managing stress. You can support each other and keep each other accountable. It can make things more fun and easier. And remember, this is all about getting better. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting better. And of course, log your wins, celebrate with your community, and pay it forward the best you can. So I finally got through all of that. If we have any questions, I'd be
In the
happy
chat,
to
I just put
address
in
them.
a little comment earlier, Dr. Martha, but yes, definitely. If you have questions or comments, something that you want to add, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll just mention it out to everybody else, or please, come off mute and join the conversation.
Don't really have anything to add to the conversation right now, but I want you to know that I'm here. I'm listening and um, happy to be a part of the combo.
Thanks, Lisa. Dr.
Right.
Whitaker, it's good to see you face to face. I interact with you a lot on LinkedIn, or used to. I'm kind of absent right now, but good to see you.
Good to see you as well, and very well done, Dr. Grajdek.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
So
really
go ahead, John.
resonated with me as I'm like working off camera for a big presentation tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do all of these things.
So I actually have a question to throw at you, Dr. Martha, because there was a time that um, I couldn't identify anything of what you've gone over, last session, this session. So for those that are in this constant on mode, they're trying to do their job and have family and so forth. And this goes especially from the non-traditional student point of view, which really got you going on this whole topic. How do we, as IOs or the adjacent fields, help it? It's not even educate. It's to help them understand, realize, and identify what is overwhelm, and that they do have the agency and the ability to go, nope, I can't do this anymore. And some people just don't have that capacity just to say no because they want to give, and that's who they are. So what have you found, what have you heard that could help someone kind of have that aha moment with that light bulb going off of, oh, that Mack truck hitting them right in the face?
Well, unfortunately, for a lot of people, it will take something drastic before they're able to look up and try to identify what's happening. Sometimes it may be someone else who knows them, who is able to speak with them, a trusted source, and point out, this is what I see, it's taking a toll on you. Our effort, I believe, should focus on trying to educate not only individuals, but also organizations, organizations that value profit over everything else are especially challenging because all too often we hear, whether it's spoken or implied, that if you don't like it or if you can't do this job, you can leave. There's 10 people behind you who will gladly take your positions. And now with AI coming onto the scene in one capacity or another, where people may be especially nervous about losing their job or how their job may shift or change, they may feel the need to prove themselves or attempt to secure their place within the organization. I think education is critical. And while there are some minds we will not change, and I mean specifically organizations and companies, we simply will not convince them. As IOs, we see this so clearly, it couldn't be any more obvious. But our challenge is that some minds are not interested in that change. So it is up to the individual to learn and recognize, set boundaries, and focus on self-care. And we have the opportunity to educate the workforce, to educate the individuals. But like I said, sometimes an intervention has to happen, whether it's by a trusted source or it happens as a matter of something extreme happening to that person, or maybe someone in their life that they witness somebody working themselves sick
Yep.
and a light bulb goes on. But it's a constant labor of love, I think. We wouldn't be in this field if we didn't care. We wouldn't be in the field of psychology, right? If we didn't care about people and want to help people in whatever capacity, whatever our specialty is. So we have to continue to educate the workforce and the organizations and do the best we can to make people see and gain that sense of independence and having a say of how their life looks.
Let me ask you a follow-on question, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. So, in my Mack truck hitting me in my burnout journey, I reflected back, going, okay, why didn't anybody that I had worked with for the past 5, 6 years notice that I was different, or I wasn't as energetic or motivated or whatever? I'm like, why? Was it just they didn't feel that they had the, to use one of your words, responsibility, to say something to me? Or was it they just didn't know themselves? Or that would have just gone against the whole company thought process of we just need to do, because even though we say we're going to be people centric, but it is all about the shareholder in the end. And so that's probably where my brain has been going. How do we help others to learn and identify? And you don't have to make a big huge announcement, like you said, it's just a simple little call out to the person privately, and just a little message or whatever. You're doing okay, because I mean that can open the whole freaking door right there. And I didn't even get any of that, just that realization from others that, you okay, Pam? I don't think you're okay. And so it's how do we broaden that scope? I mean, is there that what's the word I want? Um, it's kind of that ownership of, do they want to speak out? Do they want to speak up? So it's just one of those, things that's just been rumbling in my head for quite a few years now of
Sure,
why.
sure, especially in the aftermath, right? But there are so many factors that go into it. Everything from organizational culture to individual personalities, to what people feel comfortable with. We live in this culture where we have to tiptoe around everything. We're not allowed to step
Show
on
emotion.
anybody's toes, even
Yeah.
if it's intended as
Mhm.
concern. And I think, unfortunately, in terms of our society, society has shifted in such a way that just basic concern from one human being to another has been muted because of different reactions or different experiences. And sometimes people who would like to say something are cautious. They don't know if it's their place. And I
Mhm.
think one thing that we can do and it may take a little courage, is to create the world that we want to live in. We have to act like the people that live in the world we want to live in. So I know it's too late in the aftermath, but demonstrating behaviors that tell people we are concerned, tell me or don't tell me, it's okay. But if you want to talk, or if you need resources, or if you need a break, it's okay. We have to be able to start showing compassion to one another, something that seems to have gone away to a certain degree. And I
And
think the only way to change that is to start engaging in that ourselves, regardless of what the consequences will be. We have to be willing to take that risk, to be brave.
and that's one little part of your phrase there. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think a lot of people, especially my students, of reminding them, at the beginning of each term, we all have blah days. It's okay. Let me know if you're going to be late on an assignment because my brain's turned off today
Yeah.
and it's due today.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You know, like you said in the beginning, we're not robots. And I think that's the, leading to your, empathy comment. We have to re-embrace that. It's okay to be human because you know what? We are
We
human.
are.
We're
Mm-hmm.
social creatures. We're very emotional creatures. We're very attached creatures. Even though we want to say we're independent, we're actually interdependent. So, it's one of those things that I've been going on my own learning journey, not only personally, but how do I get my students to go and take that deep breath and say, yeah, can I turn this in tomorrow? I'm like, fine with me. We all need the space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is missed from organizations, and even with some, you know, managers or project owners and so forth, saying, you know what, if you're running into a delay or a challenge and we need to push, the milestone back, due date back, just say so. But if, to your point of, if we don't see that role model, we don't see that example, people are going to be hesitant to show up with that courage and go, you know what, I need an extra 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't always need to know why, not unless it's, specific to the project. And as long as it doesn't impact, something bigger, why can't we just delay something by 3 days? And that's where I think the fear of the shareholder and being so stuck on a very fine lined little deadline, we've just gotten into this spiral.
And the other thing, two things here. Unless you've been in that position yourself, where you find yourself maybe staring at your computer and you cannot move forward, you absolutely can't do another thing. Unless you've been in that position, that's hard to understand. And the good thing is most people have not been in that position, but unfortunately, that means they won't understand. The other thing is that people are put in management or leadership positions with absolutely no qualifications and no training. And we see not only in micromanagement, but also people who generally are not considered to be micromanaging their teams are suspicious. Well,
Yes.
are you going to abuse this? If I tell you it's okay, is this going to be your excuse from now on every time? Where a skilled manager or a skilled leader should have some ability to discern how this whole people thing works. But the reality is that a lot of people are put in management positions because they've been in the industry long enough, or they've sold enough, or whatever. They know
Yep.
somebody.
Yep.
It's a relational thing, or whatever the case may be. And so they have really no idea how to work with people, how to deal with people. You're not an overlord. You're supposed to lead and manage people, but unfortunately, that's what a lot of it ends up being. And so having one choice, meet the deadline, that's your only choice, simply creates that even more difficult situation, that toxic environment, and the attitude that we answer to shareholders, as you said, first and foremost. If you can't do this job, we'll find someone who can. That's why it's so important that individuals do take the responsibility, and that we as IO psychologists and people in the field in psychology in general, regardless of your concentration, focus on educating and empowering others. Because as much as we can do to educate organizations, I think our best bet is to educate individuals. Will be more effective there.
Yep. And as you can see, Dr. Martha and I can just keep going and going and going on this topic, and we're at time in a couple minutes more. So any last questions or comments from anyone? Otherwise, say thank you for joining us and see you next month. So
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Dr. G, for coming and sharing with us. I always learn so much when, well, anytime you open your mouth, I just learn so much. But
Thankfully.
thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this, we have, like 14 other episodes. Feel free to check them out on our YouTube page. And this episode will be live on our YouTube page in a few days if you would like to share this with others. Also, if you missed part one, go check it out. It was good stuff. And we will have same bad time, same bad channel. We'll have a new session next month. We're going to have Dr. Kim Derryberry is going to talk to us about training practitioners from the academic perspective, which should be pretty interesting. Really interested to hear what she's got to say about that. So looking forward to that. But anyway, I want to be respectful of your time. Again, Dr. G, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all of you. I hope you have a great evening, and please do take a moment to fill out the survey if you can, and have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.